Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of 4Player Podcast. My name is Nick Henderson. I am a writer and co-founder over at 4Player Network. If this is your first time listening, please look for us on iTunes and subscribe. Doing so will keep you up to date with not only this podcast, but our sister shows Cocktail Time and Audible Impressions as well. If you haven't already, swing by the website at 4playernetwork.com and join our gaming community by signing up for a free account. And last but not least, please don't forget to tune in every night over at 4pp.tv to watch us broadcast games, record podcasts, and interact with the community. But enough about that, it's time to talk about video games. Let's get started.
All right. I guess I'll go ahead and start. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. My name is Nick Henderson. I am joined today by Brad Simons.
Hello.
Oh, my God. So boring every week. Christopher Guthridge.
Hi. How's it going?
And coming around from behind the camera this week, Christopher Davis.
Hey, y'all.
Wait. Chris Davis.
Chris Davis.
Chris Davis. Sorry, I went a little crazy with your name there.
It's okay. This is going to be a very confusing show.
Confusing.
No.
It's actually pretty...
Chris Davis. People know the distinction.
Yeah. Mine's pronounced
really
with a K. His is pronounced with a CH.
I'll never forget that.
You're Chris.
I'll never forget the
Chris.
day that we realized we all, without even thinking about it, called you Chris Davis.
I explained why that happened, and it made sense.
It was better when it didn't make sense, though. Anyways, moving on. This is episode 304. It's February 5th, 2013. And today, we're going to talk about video games.
For a change.
You're talking shit about my intro? This whole fucking intro is the pits, man.
The pits. Wow, video games! How's that?
Vitcha games.
Let's talk about video games. Okay, so today is the release of Dead Space 3, but we're going to save that conversation for next week. But we will still talk a little Dead Space 2, because Brad's been playing that. How much of that did you play, by the way? Please tell me more than like 30 minutes. Did you beat it?
I'm not Nick.
We had a discussion about this, and we couldn't determine where.
I'm at the part where you're in the spaceship-looking area, and there's monsters,
Oh.
and I'm shooting them.
Yep.
See what I
Okay.
mean?
So it could be 30 minutes. You never know.
Well, you know what I mean?
I know he's at least past the school. I know that.
Oh, okay. So you saw the girl blow up?
Yes, I saw that part.
With the toddler?
Okay. You know, at least it's a little more... Can I just talk about
fine.
it?
Let's just lead into Dead Space 2. Yes, Dead Space 2, not 3.
2.
But if you're watching us broadcast this podcast live over at 4pp.tv, you'll be pleased to know that I will be broadcasting Dead Space 3 directly following this podcast for New Release Tuesday.
Okay, I'll start by saying I'm not some sort of big Dead Space 2 hater.
I am. Oh, wait.
Nick hates Dead Space 2. It's funny you say that, Nick.
Oh, I thought you were going
Wait,
somewhere else.
This is relevant.
No.
No. This is relevant. One of the reasons I didn't play Dead Space 2 is because if you remember when it first came out, you were over you broadcasted that game from my place. Then David played it. I had experienced a lot of the game without actually playing it. And, fucking Dragon Age 2 came out, and I just decided to move on to other things. It's never that I was really a Dead Space hater. I was just, I started playing it, and I was like, well, I'm not into this. But, I kind of like Dead Space 1. I mean, I don't think it's as good as fucking Resident Evil 4 like some idiots. That's not you, right?
No, but it was my game of the year that year.
Okay, no, that's fine. But I think it was a fine game. Now, we're talking about, what part of Dead Space 2 I am. If you ask me what part of Dead Space 1 I was in, fucking everything in that game looked the same. Outside of the turret sequences.
Yeah, I mean, that whole game took place on like one solitary ship. I mean, outside of being like, I'm in the med bay, now I'm in the cafeteria. Like, there really wasn't.
Yeah, but Dead Space 2 does have a little more like
variety.
Variety in terms of look.
It has a more pronounced look to it, maybe.
Yeah. But
the sprawl, as they call it.
I will say, because we were sort of joking about it, but when you were playing that game, over my place, you were like, fuck you, fuck this game, god damn this fucking game, I hate this shit.
This is infuriating!
Because you kept fucking dying. And I remember at that time, I had watched you play, and I watched David play it, and David had some trouble with it as well. And my statement was, when I play this game, I don't think I'm going to have this hard of a time. And you know what? I'm certainly not having that hard of a time. It's
I can't speak for what happened when I was playing because I can't really remember what was.
this not a super challenging game.
No, it's not.
No.
I was having. I honestly, I don't know why I was having such hard problems on the feed.
Were you scared?
It's
Was that
it's
it?
a
I'm
tense
just a
game.
little scared.
It's a tense game.
Oh, you got to see the clip of him doing the intro of the game. The first.
Oh,
like,
no.
5 minutes of the game.
The intro to that game will probably forever be in my top 5 like video game intros ever.
I will say I'm really numb to this game. I don't know if it's because I have seen a lot of it before, or honestly,
Well, I
the
think a
first
lot-
Dead Space didn't really scare me much at all. But all the big jump scares in this game, I'm just kind of like, eh. Like even the part where that dude like fell on you when you went through that door, just the corpse just fell on top of you.
Yeah, I mean the thing is,
Like I was.
I think a lot of
just
that's going to
numb
be
to it.
you're going to become numb to that really quickly if you don't catch it as soon as it happens. Because the game is full of those moments that people will talk about over and over again, and then you're just like, okay, well now I know it's going to happen, and you see it coming, and then it's
Well, I mean,
less impactful.
I didn't even see it coming. It was just that game.
The thing is that
it's more like along the lines of Resident Evil these days in terms of it's. You know, it's not going to scare me like a Fatal Frame game or like an Amnesia game. It's not that type of game.
Yeah, the thing is,
But-
Dead Space, I get into a flow with it where I'm tense or even scared at first, and then as soon as I play it for like an hour or two, I just start to get into the flow of things, and then
Yeah.
it just becomes.
It's still a fun shooter, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the weapons are just kind of fun to use. You know, it's but there's two big things I want to mention. One, I want to talk about this ammo thing.
Yes.
Because I find myself playing through Dead Space 2, and I probably played it for like maybe about 7 hours.
See, now he gives me an answer for how long you played it. When I asked him before, he couldn't tell me.
Well, I mean, you asked me where it was in the game. I couldn't fucking tell you. But
have you
I will
bought
say
the raptor things yet? The little things that poke their
Yeah,
heads out?
yeah.
He's done the Raptors. I think he's still on Discord.
that's definitely the most interesting enemy in a series that doesn't have a whole lot of interesting enemies types, in my opinion. I don't know. Those at least had interesting AI patterns that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
a
there's
Dead
some
Space
interesting
game.
Dead Space enemies. I think they're more interesting on a level of, like, you do actually have to think about at first what's the best way to go about killing them, or at least.
No. I mean,
like-
there's definitely like little puzzles or whatever, but I'm just talking about like general AI.
Yeah.
Most of them just sort of like come at you. But I want to talk about weapons because I find myself playing through Dead Space 2 with the exact same weapons I was playing through Dead Space 1 with. The plasma cutter and the line gun. And the game encourages you, honestly, not to deviate from, pick a couple weapons that you like and stick with them. I mean, now
That's
I know
true.
there is a
Yeah.
respec later on, but it costs a lot of money, and what's the point? Because it has the same problem that Resident Evil games have always had, where any weapon you're carrying, it's gonna spawn ammo for when you kill enemies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even open chests or boxes or whatnot. And because of that, like I got that pulse rifle and I was like, oh, let's carry around this pulse rifle because when I come across a fucking baby, it's gonna be mad useful, right? Like one of the little,
Yes.
Baby.
you know what I'm talking about?
Babies.
babies.
Yeah.
Deadly.
But the thing is, you don't come across them that often, and I just want ammo for my fucking plasma cutter, but I'm just getting all this fucking ammo for my pulse rifle, and I'm like, I don't want this shit. So what do? I just had to put it away and just carry my 2 fucking weapons, and that's because the ammo is not universal.
So,
Yes.
we don't want to jump too far ahead into Dead Space 3 talk. But
no,
yeah,
I do want to mention this,
But doesn't that kind of maybe justify their decision to move towards the universal
I
ammo?
think it kind of does. Here's why. One, because I don't think this is really a survival horror game anymore, at least not on the default difficulty.
It's not a survival horror game. It's a horror game, but it's not.
But the fun of Dead Space, I think, comes from the fun of, honestly, I think Resident Evil games, which I also don't really think are true survival horror games. They're more about playing around with the really fun weapons. And all I'm doing in these first 2 Dead Space games is not using all the weapons that are even, remotely interesting. I'm curious about the javelin that, creates, electricity and stuff. But I haven't purchased it because I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I don't know if you know, and if I start getting ammo for it, it's just gonna might maybe fill up my inventory.
The thing is, when I played that game, I got to a point where I actually ended up using every weapon in the game at least once or twice, but I stayed committed to like the same.
But that's the thing.
weapons.
If you have universal ammo, you can actually walk around with 4 weapons at a. I don't know about Dead Space 4. I mean Dead Space 3, but
I think you can do 4 weapons as well.
but having access to 4 weapons at a time, because the ammo is universal, you could constantly switch between all of them depending on the situation, and you find yourself using more more variety in terms of combat instead of the same shit with the plasma cutter. There's some people who play through Dead Space with just the plasma cutter. What's the fun in that? Like the fucking twisting the little thing. I know Visceral thinks it's like the coolest thing in the world, but it's probably the most boring thing you can do with a weapon in the fucking game.
That is true. That is
and
true.
half the time it's not even useful. You're not even really shooting off at angles. You're just shooting off the glowing point or whatever, especially in the newer enemies. So I don't know. I want to play around with weapons, and I like that Dead Space 3. From what I can tell, encourages that. So
Yeah. I know. I did. To be honest, I hadn't really thought of it too much that way yet. So I noticed that playing the demo alone, I was like, okay, even in the demo, I felt like I was switching between weapons, and there are not even that many weapons to choose from in the demo. But I found myself switching back and forth far more often than I did in previous games, which was kind of nice.
okay,
So.
I want to mention one other thing about the Dead Space series, and y'all might hear this argument pop up a lot, but I think it applies to games like this. I think I've talked about a certain subset of games like God of War pops up on this list a lot, Gears of War pops up on this list a lot, and I'm going to throw Dead Space in there. Where if this franchise, and see, I don't know a lot about Dead Space 3, and from what I understand, Dead Space 3 is sort of catering to what I want, but I think this is a universe that would very much be served with a more open structure, because not only do you have all these new different types of weapons that you constantly get throughout the course of the game, but you have these interesting abilities like telekinesis and like stasis. There's a lot of potential to do really cool I hate using the word Metroidvania. Metroidvania is kind of not what I'm envisioning necessarily, but imagine like a Legacy of Kain style game where you're like just Metroid fucking Prime, where you're locked out of areas based on what abilities and weapons you have, where I can't get to this whole other area of the ship because I don't have stasis yet, but now that I have stasis, I can go back to all these other areas that I couldn't get through before, and that gives you a sense of place. Until Dead Space actually has a fucking map that you can look at, you're just being funneled.
I mean, it's also weird that the series doesn't do that more often, anyways, because when you think of the context, like the character and the weapons you're using, they're all engineering tools, which should theoretically be used to, possibly open.
If you're on a
areas.
spaceship,
They're not guns.
That fucking environment is perfect for that type of level structure.
What?
But I mean, in Dead Space 1 and 2, there is a degree of backtracking in the game
But
when you can't access
it's
new areas.
linear backtracking, though. It's not even like backtracking to go just unlock the secret that you passed up before, or backtracking to go explore this area that you didn't go down. It's backtracking, because that glowy line forced you to go that way.
And it's the backtracking is usually fueled by like a story element. It's not like, oh, I remember that door, I'm gonna just willy-nilly go back there and do it myself.
When you open up the structure of a world, all of a sudden you care more about that place. It gives you a better sense of place. And the big fucking problem, like the reason something like Final Fantasy 13 is so forgettable is because all you see is this path ahead of you, and you stop actually looking around because it doesn't fucking matter. That stuff's not even there. All that's there is the path in front of you. In Dead Space, it's traditionally been the glowy fucking line. Follow this glowy line and shoot the monsters that pop up on the way.
I mean,
and I think it's lazy and unambitious unless they do more with it. Because imagine 3 more Dead Spaces down the line if it's the same thing, just linear. They're trying to tell an interesting story, and like, they're gonna have some jump scares, but if you don't do more with it, this is how these franchises become these things that no one cares about. Like, there's a new God of War coming out, and people are kind of like, I don't give a shit, because they're doing the same thing. But if God of War was more like Legacy of Kain, and that's a franchise that has platforming elements. You can fucking swim in God of War. And that stuff's pretty well done and polished. Like they're doing a real disservice to that series by not opening it up. You know, people don't do that type of game because it's fucking hard.
They've done disservice to that series in a lot of different ways.
No, but I think that's the biggest one, is that it ends up coming off as like very unambitious. We're going to talk about in the new segment a game series that is doing something very ambitious for its sequel, and you know what? Everyone's fucking excited because of it.
Yep. Yep. So we'll revisit that. Is there anything else we want to say about Dead Space? I mean, you're playing Dead Space. I'll
just say it looks really good on my PC.
Yeah.
Don't
look at me like that. I know it looks good on your PC.
No, I know, but
it also
I'm not trying to be a PC snob, but there is something to say about I'm playing a beautiful, like crisp, like 60 frames a second, like Dead Space 2, and I'm going to
Dead Space 3 on the Xbox.
You know, at half the frame rate, half the texture resolution. It just looks. I played the demo, and it's going to be a step down, and that's not what a sequel's supposed to do. See, I mean, my eyes will adjust.
You can solve this problem by just not playing PC games.
No, that's not the.
Dude, Dead Space 3
the solution is that I buy Dead Space 3 on PC. But one, don't really want to buy Dead Space 3. I kind of want to rent it. Two, it's on fucking Origin, so I'm not even gonna. Fuck that, So
I don't know. I played the Dead Space 3 demo, and I'll be playing it later tonight, and I thought it looked gorgeous. But then again, once again, haven't played the PC version.
Fucking Deathwing says it's okay to be a PC snob. He made me this way. I wouldn't have played, fucking half the games I played last year on PC if he didn't fucking gift them to me. He's part of the problem.
He's an enabler.
That's Deathwing.
Yes, you're an enabler, Deathwing.
That's Deathwing in chat over at 4pp.tv. Where we're broadcasting.
No,
right
I can certainly understand the idea of being a PC snob. I mean, I've got like 300 games on Steam right now.
As a PC snob myself, I can understand this.
But I'm not the kind of person who's gonna, wait, until it's not. I'm not gonna let the fact that I don't want to buy Dead Space 3 right now keep me from playing Dead Space 3 on the Xbox.
Yeah. No,
it's not like I'm going to wait and buy it down the line.
What I'm saying is that I will buy a game for both the 360 and the PC. I'll play it on the 360 to play with my friends and stuff like that and get the full experience. But then I'll test my computer by playing the PC version.
Were you playing Crysis on Xbox?
Yeah,
I played that on Xbox. That game
but he has a fucking PC that can run Crysis on PC.
Me too, buddy.
My computer can run PC games just fine. So it runs Battlefield 3 beautifully. But I can't stream and play games on the same time on my PC. Okay. It doesn't like me. I'm going to have to wait until I do my Haswell build in June. So,
well, for the record, Crysis 1 on the 360 is a gorgeous game. It's shut your fucking mouth. It's a gorgeous game.
The only issue I have
I'm not saying it's bad. I just know he had played Crysis on the PC before.
There's only two issues I have with the PC version of Crysis 1, or the 360 version of it. Number one, they cut out an entire fucking level out of the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
There was a level you were piloting VTOLs from the island back to the carrier in the PC version, not there in the 360 version. Okay.
But it was a good sequence.
It was kind of a fun sequence, yeah. You were avoiding, like Ceph tanks and stuff like that, and it was kind of cool.
Okay.
And
the other?
The other is I've got a problem with the shadows in the game, the way they do the shadowing.
That's a common problem in these more open type games. Like look at Far Cry 3 had the exact same problem.
Yeah, so
definitely.
I mean, other than that, it's a pretty solid port.
No, I mean that's the one area in which you were for me watching Nolan play Far Cry 3 and then going into my room playing on the Xbox, the shadows.
It's not even
don't even compare.
It's not even something that I would normally be like.
You mean
a
the
stickler
shaders
about,
or the actual?
No, the actual like the shadows that objects are casting. They all they all end up looking all stippled and just
just fuzzy,
just dots basically until you get right up on it and then they blend together. It's a little jarring.
Yeah, very true. So. Moving on from Dead Space, we'll revisit Dead Space 3 next week once we've all had a chance to play a good chunk of it. I mean, Dead Space 3, once we've had a chance to play it.
And I will be writing the review for it, so...
Kris will be writing the review for Dead Space 3 on the site over at 4playernetwork.com, so look for that in the near future. Kris, B. Sorry.
Did you say B?
Kris B. That's what I said. You've been playing The Cave.
Yeah, I got The Cave today.
Which is a game that we've briefly mentioned.
The Cave.
Brad had some maybe not so great things to say about it at PAX, but...
Concerning things.
Concerning things. Kris, you've been playing the final version.
Yes.
What do you think of that game?
Okay, so I've been playing for about 2 hours now. Like I said, I got it today.
This is the Double Fine.
This is Double Fine
platformer.
Yeah. It's Ron Gilbert.
Ron Gilbert.
Yeah. So far, I'm like in love with this game. It's just so. I mean,
what are you playing it on?
What
are you playing it on?
XBLA.
Okay.
360.
The only thing I'm hearing about this game is that the characters are less than memorable.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. Like, the whole concept of it, if you haven't heard of it, is that, you know, they give you 7 different characters that you can choose from.
So you just gave yourself a mad cow elixir. Your hair on the left side, right side of your head was like this high.
I'll fix it.
Going all crazy.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they give you like 7 different characters to choose from. You pick 3 of them to go into the cave. And the whole kind of like setup of the story is that each one of these characters are looking for different things. But by delving through the cave, you learn dark secrets about them, like the darkness in their hearts. The darkness, yes, Jackie. The darkness. But like the characters are all like wildly different from one another. There's a knight, a hillbilly, a time traveler, a scientist, an adventurer, a set of these like really creepy twins. And a monk, twins. And yeah, it's like a yeah, it's like a little boy and a little girl, and they always hold hands, and their eyes.
Not the kind
glow.
of twins he likes.
Yeah, not my kind of twins.
Not that kind of twins. Like the kind of twins that'll just like murder your soul, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know, it's a straight up like platforming adventure. There's not even really any combat so far that I've encountered. It's all just puzzle solving and platforming. But it's just the environment of it and the storytelling of it is really compelling. The characters, I'm actually really interested in the characters so far. I'm playing with, right now I have the Knight, the Time Traveler, and the Adventurer. And all the characters have their own different abilities that come in use in the cave. For example, the Knight, he can cast this like invincibility spell on himself. So he stands still and then he's like covered by a bubble, and that prevents him from taking any damage. And if he's falling, it also will like slow his descent and bring him peacefully to the ground.
Like the bubbles in Mario.
Yeah, kind of like that. The time traveler, she can phase through obstacles like bars or other things, just as long as it's not like a solid door.
Oh, there's the twins.
Yeah. And like the twins can they can like hold a switch and then turn into ghosts and then move through. Like they'll leave a ghost of themselves holding the switch, and then they can move through the door. And then when the ghost disappears,
That's cool.
Yeah. So everyone has these abilities, and because of that, they all have their own areas in the cave that only they can get to, and have like quests and stuff. So for example, like when you first go into the cave, you wind up in the gift shop of the cave, and then the gift shop owner.
Wait a second.
Yeah, before you can even go in, you have to go to the gift shop.
Microtransactions?
No.
The cave? Why does the cave have a gift shop?
I don't know. The cave is the narrator of the game, too. So it's really weird.
The cave is the narrator of the game.
The cave narrates the game.
The cave is sentient?
Yeah.
So the cave
and funny.
So the cave has personality, but it wants you to go inside it.
Yeah, and it's like
so the cave is a character.
The cave is a character, yeah. It's really, and he narrates the whole game. Like it's really, yes, dubious. But so like you go in the gift shop, and then the gift shop manager's like, "Oh, we can't open the cave unless I have things to sell in the gift shop." So you have to go into an employee only section and find trinkets for him to sell. Like you find a cursed guitar and like a skull, like jeweled skull, and then you actually get to go into the cave. And as soon as I went in, I was like exploring around, and I found an area that only the knight can get into. And when you go into that area, you find a king standing next to a sword in the stone.
Wait,
and
so are you like switching between characters all the time?
When you can play by yourself and just switch between all 3 characters.
Yeah.
Or you can have up to 2 other people play with you, and they'll control the characters.
Okay. So does it have like that? So you can play co-op in this game.
Yeah.
So it has that kind of that trine element to it, where you're kind of like using powers together to solve puzzles and stuff.
Yeah, but the puzzles aren't.
They're
really
not
like
as
trine.
like,
Trines are like physicsy platformy type puzzles.
Yeah. These
Puzzles
are
in this one
more-
are more like traditional adventure games.
These
puzzles.
are more like traditional. Like it's more like you have to find an object over here, take it over here to get this object kind of thing. So like for example, one of the early puzzles I did was there was a monster that was like posted up in front of the entrance of an area I needed to get to.
Yeah.
And in front of him was a spike pit, and above the spike pit was a claw machine. And basically what you had to do was at the claw machine there's a fuse in a fuse box that has water dripping on it.
Yeah.
You have to get that fuse out, but if you try to touch it, it'll electrocute you. So
Naturally.
naturally. So you have to find an object to find an object to break a crank off of one well, put it on a broken well so you can crank up the bucket, use the bucket to catch the water drips so that it doesn't electrocute you when you pull the fuse out. You take that fuse, you put it in a different fuse box, that powers a vending machine that gives you a hot dog. You put the hot dog in the spike pit, the monster...
Wait a second.
Sure, this is
Hot dog in a
mousetrap?
cave?
Yeah, hot dog
Yeah,
in a cave.
yeah.
All right, just so we're clear.
Just in there.
Just throwing a hot dog.
A whole
Into
vending
a-
machine of them.
Sounds like mousetrap or something. Like
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then when the
I like that
monster
game.
Yeah, it
eats the hot dog, you pick him up with a claw. But like the cool thing, like one of the things I like about the game is as you go through, you find like markers that give you. They explain like the backstory to all the characters. So there's like 8 or 9 for each character that you find, and they all tell a story. And it kind of starts to illustrate like the dark secrets that these characters have. So for example, the knight, when you start learning about his story, you find out that he's not actually a knight. He was a peasant boy like working in a beet field, and some knight rode by and had a heart attack and died. So he just stole his armor, and now
Okay.
he's like on a quest to find a magic sword.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and like the adventurer, she's like this like hot sexy blonde chick from the 40s.
Yes! From the 40s.
Yeah, like an Indiana Jones spelunky kind of adventure, and you learn that she's part of a team, and like her quest is to go find her lost teammates. But then you start finding out that like they all hate her because she's a glory hog because she took all credit for everything they ever found.
I feel like no one's ever going to pick the hillbilly.
The hillbilly, I haven't played as him yet.
For the record,
No one's going to play the hillbilly, but he's got the coolest ability.
He can hold his breath.
He can hold his breath and swim,
swim,
which
yeah.
means he can
underwater.
So there's all these underwater channels that only he can get
Can
through.
everybody else hear Brad's water boner?
Oh.
For the record,
I can see the water boner.
for the record, this is the first time I've ever heard a train here, Brad. Is there a train nearby?
Yeah, there's a.
You guys heard that too?
I have never heard the train.
It's a half mile away.
Oh, we're over here. Oh,
Yeah.
I know where we are.
It runs parallel
Okay.
to where we are.
Oh, sorry. Don't mind my screensaver. I keep forgetting that happens.
Oh, I don't.
Nick has a fantastic screensaver that he's not willing to share with the rest of us.
Yeah, sorry, because it distracts you fools. So you're enjoying the cave.
I'm really enjoying the cave so far. I mean,
Do you wanna touch-
Brad, you had mentioned some stuff with the mechanics that you.
Oh, just from what I played of it, I didn't really like the way the game felt. Like the platforming mechanics seemed really floaty and imprecise, and I
These
would
are
be
impressions
constantly-
from PAX, right?
yeah, I'd be constantly like missing jumps and stuff. But it felt kind of pointless. There's no reason like this jump should not be hard to make. That's not the point of this game. It's just supposed to be like, it's not a platformer. Yet I was having trouble just hopping around, and that seemed weird to me.
That's not really the experience I've been having so far. It seems like they've probably tightened it up quite a bit since PAX. Like I said, like the grab distances for ledges, like when you're jumping up, is pretty luxurious. You don't have to be very precise with it. So the actual platforming aspect of it so far hasn't even really been something that you have to concern yourself with.
I mean, that might be a direct result of some of the feedback they were getting from PAX.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of the games that like Ron Gilbert has done in the past, like Monkey Island and Manic Mansion and all that stuff, have been predominantly story driven, and this one's kind of shaping up that way too. So the gameplay mechanics of it aren't necessarily that difficult. Most of the gameplay is just in figuring out those puzzles of like what item you need to get from where to take to do this and that. Like
That sounds cool.
yeah.
Well, this might be a little off topic, but I opened up my case for Fire Emblem Awakening, and you know how instruction booklets have been getting
Shitty.
Smaller.
lamer and lamer. This one, there's so few pages. They just decided instead of
4-panel full?
instead of a book, they're just gonna fold the piece of paper in half.
God.
Pretty lame.
No.
Hey,
scene.
at least you have an instruction manual. I don't think
Yeah,
Dead Space 3 has one.
There are some games Dead Space or
There's so little
Three
to it.
doesn't have one. I
And
opened
yet
it up
half
today.
of
There's
an entire page is all
That's
just
such a
DLC.
shame. You know,
there's the placard with your online
Yeah.
pass
and
that's
nothing
it.
else.
this is the kind of crap that makes me wish I had gotten Ni no Kuni, like the special edition.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I finally, because I've been playing. I won't talk a lot about it this week because it's been kind of a light gaming week for me this week. But I did play about 5 or 6 more hours of Ni no Kuni over the week, and I started exploring the Wizard's Companion book or whatever in the game.
That's a crazy
It's
thing.
fucking cool. Like that effect when you zoom in and all of a sudden it animates the drawings and they become like the physical representation of the characters, or whatever. It's really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me regret I didn't get the special edition because I want the physical version of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Brad, Antichamber, right? Is that a
Oh
good-
yeah, I want to talk about Antichamber.
Talk about Antichamber.
So Antichamber is this first-person puzzler type game, of which you see a lot of these days. Okay, not a lot of, but yeah, when you see it, you're like, oh, this is kind of like a Portal type game, but with different mechanics. But the big twist with Antichamber is that there's non-Euclidean geometry all over the place, and what that means is
It's
like,
bigger on the inside.
well, I mean, just
like the Unfinished Swan.
the geometry of like a room like won't make sense. Like you can round a corner, or say you're going around like a pillar, but it keeps going, and that doesn't make sense. You would think you would originally you'd end up back where you
Circle
started,
back to where
but
you
it
started.
doesn't. It just keeps going.
You could go down a staircase endlessly, and then you turn around, and boom, there's suddenly a room
Yeah.
right behind you.
Yeah,
You didn't
or
know.
or the kind of thing where you're walking down a pathway, and you turn around and go back the other way, and all of a sudden you're in a completely different place.
No, it's
you're
like
not where you came from.
not
It's like in
third
Silent
dimensional.
Hill Downpour last year. There's like this long fucking stairwell, and I was running up the stairs, and I was like, it had like the tense music, and I was like, oh my god, I thought I was running for my life. And I was running for like probably 2 or 3 minutes, and I was like, God, I don't think this is ever gonna end. And then I stopped, turned around, and the door that I walked through was right in front of me, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
just walked out of it.
stuff like that.
Whoa,
That's the whole conceit with the
that shit is really fucking cool.
No, it is fucking cool. No, it's absolutely fucking cool.
TARDIS.
Like mind blowing cool. But
I wish I did more of that in the
like let me give you an example of one of the things that is one of the little rooms that's cool. And the game does a lot of stuff like this, where I go into a room and the room is all red, and I see just sort of on like a little wall, like in the actual middle of the room, like a window, pretty much, right? And I'm standing in this red room, and I look through the window, and on the other side of the window is like a different colored room. Like I could see it through the window, a different colored room, but the other side of that window is still should be in the room that I'm in now, right?
Yeah.
Like just like a hole, right? And it's like, well, on the other side of that window should be the other part of this red room, but it's not. It's a different room, a green room. And that's already pretty crazy. But then the game does something where, like, if you walk up to that window to where you can no longer see, you can only see through that window, you don't see any of the red room, and then you back up,
You're in the green room.
you're in the fucking green room.
That's
You know,
amazing.
yeah, it's fucking like mind trippy shit, right? And it's cool.
Okay,
because the structure of this game is a non-linear kind of an open world like puzzle game, where like something like Portal's very linear. This is you go where you want, and part of the game is just exploring this world in very strange, like non-Euclidean ways, and a lot of the puzzle design early on is just figuring out how to get around this world, the different ways that you can sort of break the geometry to get to new areas of this world. But the thing the problem I've had with this game is I feel like I've been comparing it to Limbo, where a lot of people, when they first started playing Limbo, were like, "Oh, this is this really cool atmospheric game that looks like it's trying to tell this subtle story." And you see the stuff with the kids that are trying to kill you, and then the spider, which is a really cool atmospheric moment. But then you realize that the more you play that game, that it just becomes much more traditional, just straight up puzzle game, right? The thing is, I really liked Limbo because I liked that puzzle aspect of the game. The thing is, this game starts off, with a lot of these like non-Euclidean mind fucks, where you're just sort of exploring the world, but then you start getting these different guns, like portal guns, if you will. But instead of portals, they shoot these little bricks out, these little blocks, and then what happens is that the game becomes less about fucking with your mind and more about just solving these like little block puzzles, if you will. Not like a Tomb Raider block puzzle, but just using these different little colored blocks to interact with the world in different ways and basically solve these puzzles to get you to the next areas. And it becomes much less interesting than I guess sort of the promise of the early mindfuckery.
Yeah.
And I find that I sort of stopped playing, and at first I was like super into it, and now I'm just like I'm literally doing these block puzzles where I have to like get through this area because at the end there's a switch, there's a door that I need to place 3 of these green blocks in each switch to be able to open that door to get through that door.
Yeah.
So I have to find like a very puzzle-like way to get these blocks through each of these doors and using blocks to hold up in doors.
Yeah.
Very standard puzzle, and it's like
it doesn't quite
like
match
what am I doing? This is not what I was doing before. This is I guess still kind of interesting and cerebral and well made, but not that craziness that I wanted.
It doesn't quite
from
live
this
up
game.
to the promise of the original concept.
Yeah.
What is the game like? What's the visual style? I'm trying to picture. This in my
Very
mind.
very minimalistic, like
I'm picturing like the
texture
texture
free,
like it's all white.
Yeah. No, I mean that very primary colors, simple.
Yeah.
But it has a unique look to it, especially when they start fucking with geometry and whatnot, like fucking your head with geometry.
Fucking your head with geometry.
Yeah.
Rhombuses and shit.
Fucking your brain.
The rhombus show.
But what happens is you sort of explore a lot of the world, and then you sort of get to all the ends of the world and realize the only thing that's keeping you from moving a little further is solving these block puzzles, and all of a sudden it's not as novel as it was, and that's sort of my frustration with it at this point. To whether you have the patience to sort of figure out these rather obtuse like block puzzles. Like they give you these new guns, but they don't even really tell you how these sort of blocks work. So you're just sort of beating your head against the wall until you kind of figure out the way things work. I feel like I brought up an example of Limbo, but they do a lot of really creative, subtle things that show you visually in the world maybe how things work. Where if you pay attention to stuff in the background, like in the actual like background, you'll see like little subtle hints of like be careful coming up here because of the way something in the background is interacting with the environment or whatever. I just think this game is just
how much is it?
Way much more obtuse than
PC game, I'm assuming, right?
$14.99, I think it was.
I think $14.99. That's the sale price. I think it's maybe $20.
So this game is bigger in scope than I expected.
No, I mean it's a large fucking puzzle game. You could be messing around with it for a while from the sound of it, but your mileage may vary. It's the kind of thing where you could like the game has a sort of a problem where you get to a dead end and you have no idea if you even have the tools to get through this like dead end, because you're constantly sort of backing out and exploring different parts of the world. And I feel like in a Metroidvania, which I think this game kind of tries to want to be, because you get these different types of guns that shoot these different types of colored blocks that purportedly get you through different parts of the puzzles that you weren't able to get through before. But there's no hint of that. In a Metroid game, you see a new type of door, and you're like, oh, well, I clearly can't get through this type of door now. But I know as soon as I get the new item and I can get through that type of door, I know I can get through this part now. Or like in Castlevania, where you see a ledge that you just can't reach. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you become a bat and you're like, oh, well, now I can fly up to these areas I couldn't get to before. So like it's super obtuse in Antichamber. And you'll find yourself like spending like half an hour just wasting time in this room, having no fucking clue if you're even going to get like the only reason I even knew I got more, I was able to, I would get more guns is because people in chat told me. If I didn't know that, I would have had no clue that I couldn't really like progress. I mean, and there's these subtle little like signs on the walls that give you like hints of like sometimes you can't always progress yet. But that doesn't. But when every other fucking room you enter is like an obtuse puzzle, you have no fucking clue. It's kind of frustrating.
Well, it sounds interesting nonetheless.
Yep. Yeah.
Worth trying out, maybe.
You like block puzzles.
So, Kris Davis, is there anything that you've been playing that you would like to talk about? 'Cause otherwise, we've already kind of covered all the games for impressions this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just haven't had much time to play games.
It's been one of those weeks for me too.
Been playing the game of life.
Yeah, unfortunately, and life has been fucking me over.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We can hold hands.
yeah.
I'm not really gonna do that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Just don't look into each other's eyes while you're doing it.
I mean, other
and
than
it's
just
gay.
playing Crisis 1 on the 360, that's about it.
Cool.
So,
I played a little more Ni no Kuni. What can I say about that?
I think you literally
Birdie.
just mentioned that.
Well, I mean, I mentioned it in passing because we were talking about something else, which made me think of it. But I was going to give more detailed thoughts on it, Brad. But there's really no need, I guess. I mean, I'm finally getting to that point where I'm starting the whole JRPG like grind of it, which is funny. I didn't really use the word grind, but I haven't been into a JRPG in a long time, and I'm finally getting back into the groove of things and feeling that itch to like grind my characters and level up and do side quests and shit. And that feels really cool because I haven't felt that feeling in a long ass time. And I haven't gotten far enough though in the game to start running into some of the problems that I know Nolan and Brad have been running into, or other people in general. I know a lot of people have kind of had gripes about the game and the combat and stuff like that. But so far, the scope of the combat hasn't grown so far that it's become annoying or frustrating. It's kind of at that point where in its early stages where it's just fun, and I kind of don't want it to stop being fun.
yeah.
But I think it's going to eventually.
It's gonna start becoming work.
Yeah, because like I have like four or five familiars with little Pokemon characters, whatever, which is cool. Yeah. But like I go in the living room and Nolan's playing, and I look at his screen. He finishes a battle and he has like 50 things that are all like leveling up. And I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, what is the point of this? So I don't know, but the game is still
Everybody level.
the game is charming as hell. I don't know. I'm still digging the whole Studio Ghibli thing.
I really want to get it. It's a game I had to wait until like June or July for.
The thing is, now I have to finish it because I told Brad I would finish it because he doesn't believe me that I will.
You're not gonna finish it.
Watch.
I would throw money down, but then you'd have financial incentive to get through it. I want to see if like I don't even want to have brought up this challenge because that's motivating you more than I think the game itself would have actually motivated you. I should have just wrote down on the beginning of the year, Nick will not finish Ni no Kuni, and then we opened it at the end of the year. It's like, damn, you're right.
Yeah, too late for that now, I guess.
But even my challenge is not enough. You won't finish.
All right, we'll see.
Actually, there is one game I just thought of. I've actually been playing a bunch of the multiplayer beta for Crisis 3.
Oh,
How was that?
It's pretty fun. I've always likened Crisis 2's multiplayer to like Halo meets Call of Duty.
Yeah,
in a very good
Yeah.
way. And this is 95% the same.
Okay, yeah,
This is a very good thing.
I played a little bit of the Crisis 2 multiplayer, and for what it was, I was enjoying it quite a bit. But still, I go to Crisis pretty much solely for the single player.
Yeah,
Which
understandable.
which modes were available in the beta?
There's two. There's Crash Site, which is kind of like a domination variant.
Yeah.
And there's a new one called Hunter. It's basically a zombie variant.
Really?
Oh.
Except everybody else is just regular soldiers.
Yeah.
And then there's
One person.
the
has-
Hunter
suit.
is
nanosuit.
it's a nanosuit wearing guy with permanent invisibility, permanent speed and strength boost,
Yeah.
but he only has a bow.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That sounds.
And
really
if you kill him, you get to become him, right? I'm assuming.
No, that's like a Juggernaut variant. This is
Okay.
you kill him, he respawns. He kills you, you become a hunter,
Okay.
and you hunt down everybody else.
Okay,
Holy
that sounds
shit.
that sounds fun. I'll give that.
So
a shot.
then there's the one guy left, and there's just like a bunch of fucking invisible enemies.
It's-
Arrows flying all over the place.
shimmering around
It can be pretty nuts. There's one of the default perks you get as a regular guy during that. You get a proximity alarm. So the entire time, it kind of feels like a scene out of fucking Aliens. Okay.
Oh, so like if the
So
hunter's
like,
getting closer,
It
it's
starts
like,
getting louder and louder, and like shit, where the fuck is he?
so you start to
Game over, man. Game over.
You start to feel that paranoia creeping on you. I'm really excited for Crisis 3. I was watching some of those, promotional videos they were putting out and stuff, and that game just straight up stop looking at that.
I'm not.
Stop looking at that, jerk. I don't know. That game looks pretty good. I mean, I'm already a fan of Crisis. I love Crisis 1 and Crisis 2 as on all fronts as far as the single player goes. Not only is the game like play really well as a shooter,
Yeah.
like that universe I'm kind of invested in a way.
I mean,
don't know,
the universe is actually pretty cool. I don't particularly like the way they told the story in Crisis 2 because they didn't really finish up what happened in Crisis 1.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I jumped into Crisis 2 not having played Crisis 1, so it was kind of a new experience for me. I actually played Crisis 1 after finishing 2. But they both had, like, has some fucking crazy epic moments, like, in that game that feel awesome as a player. So I'm like, that comes out this month, right?
Yeah, it comes out on the
17th.
17th, the same day as Metal Gear Rising. So
Shit.
I'm gonna play the shit out of Crisis 3.
It's a busy month. So we're gonna go ahead and take a break. We've talked about all the impressions we need to cover. When we come back, we'll talk about a bunch of news, including The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, which was just announced, and a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second.
Hey guys, welcome back.
I've been trying to master that for a long time, and I just can't do it. So we're back. We got news. I don't know. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the big news, Brad?
Yes.
CD Projekt Red, a studio that we're all very familiar with and like a lot.
Yes.
Hey,
sir.
they did the Witcher games.
Hey, they did do the Witcher games. Witcher 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And this...
And
Yeah.
some kind of cyberpunk game. I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
I am really excited about that.
Yeah, me
That
too.
could be cute.
But that's slightly being overshadowed now by the fact that... Well, this is also news. Earlier in the week, they announced their new engine, CD Engine Red.
Red Engine 3.
Red Engine 3. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Red Engine 3, which I'm assuming is their engine that's going to be running primarily on high-end PCs and next-generation consoles.
Yes.
Right before announcing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
You.
Which is actually this month's Game Informer cover. So if you're a Game Informer subscriber, I'd probably keep your eyes peeled for that because that's going to be like a full 15-page spread on that game, which is crazy because that's the first. I mean, this is like the first like next gen game that we're going to get like a lot of details on.
yeah.
coming
Oh,
out
yeah.
soon,
A
pretty
good
quickly.
look at.
Yes, a very good look on. So, the stuff that we know so far, CD Projekt Red is being very open about the fact that this game is their last Witcher game. They're going to probably move on, and I mean, they might be prepping Cyberpunk to kind of become their next thing, or just moving on to new IPs and all, in general. But The Witcher 3 is supposed to be the big send off for the series. So if you're a fan of Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, this is kind of the coup de grace. Running on Red Engine 3. What is it? 30 times bigger. The world is apparently
30 times bigger than The Witcher 2.
Because
It's an open world.
it is an open world game, but not open world like fucking
Skyrim.
No. Well, yes.
They were actually mentioning Skyrim size.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not open world like fucking Dragon Age 1 is open world. It's open world as in, like big expanse.
More in common with
It's 30
Skyrim.
times bigger than Skyrim.
No. No. Like it's funny we laugh about that, but God, that would be
It's
That would just be
20%.
chore.
20% larger than Skyrim.
20%. I mean,
That's
which
what
is-
they say.
Anything larger than Skyrim though is like to say something is larger than Skyrim is kind of like what the
Unless
fuck?
it's a game about jetpacks.
They're saying that it would take 25 to 30 minutes to cross the entire map on horseback. So
and there's going to be horses.
horse riding.
Confirmed.
But see, the thing is, it's not just like an open world game. Like making it an open world game, they're sort of it's not just the physical space that's changing. The style of like Witcher's traditionally always been like an act based thing. Like in this act, you were in this area. In Act 2, you're in this area. In Act 3, you're in this area.
It was like that in the first Witcher as well?
The act structure is gone. It's like straight up a Bethesda game where you sort of go where you want. And, the main story will take you down certain paths, but there's totally optional stuff that will take you all over the world.
So I'm really excited about the whole taking The Witcher into an open world structure. At the same time, I'm a little nervous about it because I've never seen CD Projekt Red do anything quite like this. And if you read the press release that went out this morning, they spent like paragraphs talking about how this game is huge and expansive and completely open and fully embracing the open world game structure stuff. And that sounds super exciting, but it's like, what about all those studios that try and do open world stuff I mean, maybe not to the scale, but they're like, we're gonna go open world, and they try it, and then it just falls kind of flat.
What,
like
though?
I don't know. Like look at so Rockstar kind of set the tone for, or set the bar for open world, like in city games, kind of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the
And
urban
then
open world.
And then when you see a game come along, like I don't know, Prototype, or I don't know, another True Crime, or even Sleeping Dogs, like comes along and tries to do it at the same time, it's still big, it's still expansive, but it never feels
as
quite,
alive,
or quite the same. And I have faith. I love CD Projekt Red as a developer, but
I don't think that's true anymore. By the way, though, I mean I think Sleeping Dogs feels just as alive as
not as it's missing some stuff. I mean, if you play like Grand Theft Auto right before going to play Sleeping Dogs, the difference is pretty jarring in my opinion.
Yeah,
like not to say that world wasn't impressive or well done or an accomplishment.
There are plenty of things to do in Sleeping Dogs, but the fact of the matter is you'll spend most of your time on only half the island.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel as nearly as alive.
And the thing is, you can do stuff in GTA and just fuck around and do side missions and stuff for hours and hours and hours. And I feel like Sleeping Dogs.
But whatever. Why are we comparing this to GTA?
I don't know.
We should be comparing it to more like of the open world, like fantasy games.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I'm just talking about how seeing a developer go from doing something that's very linear and structured to doing something very open has not always.
But do you
turned out
have
the
any
greatest
examples? I feel like it usually works out fairly well. Like even when they do it on a,
I'm just saying
on like a smaller scale. Like I think about like Halo ODST.
I'm just saying they have
like I was
some
really
big, yeah.
Or like Demon Souls going to Dark Souls.
You know how I feel about ODST. No, I mean I'm just saying they have some pretty big shoes to fill, and not to mention like this isn't. They're not just saying this is an open world game. They're not just saying this is an open. God damn it! I thought we'd never revisit that joke. This is not just them like we're doing an open world game. It's like we're doing an open world game that's bigger than Skyrim. Like this is like so fully embracing.
And guess what? He has his fucking horse, which he's always had in the story, or at least the books. And now
he never rode a horse in The Witcher 2, did he?
Well, I mean cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's like you're traversing the world on horseback, and that's super exciting.
And
because I know that will feel a lot better than it does in fucking Skyrim. Just like the combat's probably going to feel a lot better than it does in Skyrim, and that's exciting to get that, potentially Bethesda scale of experience, but in a game that has much tighter mechanics.
What I'm curious about is what kind of changes they're going to make to the actual like combat system to accommodate that open world setting, because like you were saying in the last ones, they're all pretty linear, and I've only played Witcher 2. I haven't played the first one, but in that one, like the combat system was very much built around preparation. Like you had, like you knew, like you kind of knew you were going into a cave that was going to be filled with monsters. So before you go into the cave, you stop and you get ready and things like that. You apply your oils to your blades and drink your potions and stuff.
That's
I
still
feel
very
like
much going to be a part of it.
I think it is, but I mean, like, is it going to are they going to make it as essential? Like, because I feel like in Skyrim especially, like if you're just out wandering around, it's so easy to just fall into like a group of enemies. Like you don't ever really know what you're gonna find like over the next hill or anything.
I think preparation will still be very big about it.
Yeah, you're still gonna have quests to take down
all the caves,
like giant monsters.
But I mean, like, is it going to be as essential in like the more like mob style battles?
You'll definitely see like larger scale battles. I mean, it seemed to me, at least from my experience with Witcher 2, that a majority of your encounters were with maybe one or two enemies at a time. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking given the narrative structure based on what they were ending with in Witcher 2, you're going to be seeing like pretty large battles against 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think they'll adjust the combat to where it's a little bit more forgiving for the player. Right. So,
I mean, I don't think they should get away from that.
No,
entirely. I think that was a nice.
The combat
hallmark
system was really good in The Witcher 2.
That was a good hallmark of that series. Is like, I don't
fighting. It's not so much fighting. See, the thing is, a Witcher is like born and bred to like fight beasts, right? Mm-hmm. But what I love most about like combat in Witcher 2 is actually, is fighting like a group of like like 5 bandits or whatever, like multiple human enemies, which is. It's funny because in the stories, he's always finding himself in these situations where he has to fight people. Yeah, that's sort of one of his things. But I'm hoping that it's still very much there's still very much a focus on fighting like human opponents as well, because I love the fact of that he can, because he's such a great swordsman,
He can take on
out
multiple
like
guys.
multiple dudes like crazy. I mean, the singular like monster fights were never as fun.
Mm-hmm.
And just speaking on like a purely aesthetic level, like the combat animations that you kind of go into, while kind of repetitive in the long run, by the time you finish that game, you've seen them quite a bit, but like they're pretty intricate. And like watching him like jump around and flip
They're intricate
around,
and they're cool.
and they look awesome. Yeah. Which is way more than I can say for Skyrim. I mean, I don't mean to like jab or take pokes at Skyrim or Elder Scrolls in general, but because that series is great.
Now,
man, that game has never been known for its awesome looking combat.
Now, I'm probably going to get yelled at for this, but just from looking at the cover of the Game Informer issue, it almost feels like we're going to be seeing some kind of at least either a co-op element in there, or an element in which you are, when you're going into combat, you're going to have somebody along there with you,
commanding followers.
Yeah.
What if there's a tactics menu?
No, I mean, I just don't think that's gonna happen.
What if it's a tactics menu?
I mean, The Witcher is such a solitary.
It might be a little early to start.
Geralt is such a solitary character. It would be weird for to make it a co-op or multiplayer thing.
The thing is, I think they're going big with the single player stuff primarily because they're trying to wrap up this story in a really memorable way. Like they talked about that a lot in the press release as well. They're wanting to send the story off on a high note. So I don't know. Every time you introduce co-op, and not every time, but a lot of times when you introduce co-op or multiplayer, those things kind of take a back seat in a lot of ways, or they never turn out quite as polished.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they want to take that risk, but
And you were saying that, Brad, the games aren't canon to the books, so they could really end it any way they want.
yeah.
They could just do some kind of crazy.
Well, supposedly
fuck
his
everything.
memory has been completely restored.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that's coming out about the story and the character.
Like I said, there'll be more details coming out when people get their hands on the Game Informer article. One thing that was mentioned just kind of like haphazardly in the press release was something about sailing. Like you should be able to.
Is that fucking true? I need some confirmation on that.
You want me to pull up
Can
the
you
email?
sail boats?
I'll pull up the email.
That's
On a
incredible.
On a boat.
On a boat.
What if you can swim?
Bust some
That-
5 knot.
Oh my god.
That would kind of suck if you couldn't swim. I don't know. I mean,
You can
Well,
get on boats, but
I
you can't.
can't see being able to swim necessarily.
I don't think it's
That
really
would be cool.
necessary.
I mean, think about sailing a boat out to take on a big sea monster or something. Like that would be so fucking cool.
you're exciting, Brad.
well,
Slow it down.
What's sad is that it only excites someone like me. It should excite everyone. Like that stuff's so awesome and just not done anymore. Like just cool underwater stuff.
I will kind of peruse this email and see if I can find the comment about
well, the two things that really interest me about it. I mean, you guys know I'm not really much of a high fantasy guy.
Here we go. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Quote unquote. Open world free roaming exploration is an adventure in itself, as the player will gallop through war ravaged lands, sail misty waters, and track down dangerous beasts for money.
Misty.
They use the word sailing in their email.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Well,
Hold them to it.
Oh, I will.
I just hope it's actually selling and not
yeah,
take
not
the
like
boat to get to this next island or whatever.
Yeah.
no. I'm just
Fast travel.
I'm really interested in the war that's going to be happening. I mean, spoiler alert. I don't know if this really counts, but
Wait, you spoiling The Witcher 2?
not really.
There is a bit of a war that's been they've been building up to, but
Yeah. Well, this. Okay.
well, you don't need to go into
The thing is,
details.
the game is titled The Wild Hunt,
Wild
which is,
Hunt,
which is a big part of the plot or the universe, the lore that was mentioned a lot in The Witcher 2, and kind of they told some stories about it through those really interesting cutscenes, like the animated cutscenes, but they never really talked or went too in depth about it, which I'm kind of excited, especially the thing based on what I heard in The Witcher 2. It's kind of exciting that this game will be centered around that concept.
Yeah.
So
But I'm also interested in okay, I don't know if it was just
Finding
y'all, but
Yennefer, maybe.
I was interested in the Yennefer and Triss aspect, because was it me or on the cover did that not look like Triss at all?
I thought it looked like Triss. That was
It was
my
probably
first.
like Triss.
It looked like
Triss,
white hair coming out of the cloaks.
the
so-
behind the scenes video or whatever they released had like a model of Triss swinging her legs, sitting on a table.
Really?
I don't think that was from The Witcher 2 necessarily, but it might have been because they were kind of showing stuff from both games.
You suddenly have my attention.
Well, for me, I mean, I pursued a romantic relationship with Triss. I don't know if anybody else did.
Next generation relationship management.
Day one buy.
Day one purchase for me.
I don't want to wait. I want this game like now.
Well,
I want this game
this
in
is
August or something. Fuck.
We won't even have the new hardware by August,
Well,
most likely. So
I'll probably need to upgrade graphics card by then. I'm sure that will beat up modern PCs.
This will be a 2014 game. I would suppose it'd be at least handleable on a modern.
Do you think
PC?
that they would? Did they mention anything about doing a simultaneous release, or is this going to be a PC game?
They made it sound like
they said PC games, and they said this specifically: PC and high-end consoles.
No, I know it's going to be a next-gen game, but I'm wondering, is it going to be like The Witcher 2, where they're just going to... It's a PC game, and eventually it's going to come to...
No, I think they'll do a universal now.
They didn't
because
say either
I
way.
could see them getting to the point where they're ready to release it on PC, but then it might take some extra time getting used to the new technology of the new systems and whatnot.
I think the enhanced edition of Witcher 2 was an experiment on consoling for that purpose. So,
I don't know. It's hard to say. They haven't said either way just yet, but based on the way CD Projekt Red kind of has been doing things, it seems like that's kind of the direction they would be heading anyways, as a simultaneous launch. That's what I'm hoping for. Also, just it was weird. One of the reasons I love CD Projekt Red is they do some really cool things for their fans as far as like sales and discounts and stuff goes. So simultaneously with the announcement of The Witcher 3, they marked down The Witcher 2 on... Was it Good Old Games or on Steam? I can't remember.
I think it was GOG, and I think it's down to $20.
Yeah, so I think they marked it down 50% on GOG and today. So, but I think that I'm not sure how long it's going to last. But if you're interested in The Witcher 2, if you haven't picked it up yet, I would go check that out.
And the 360 version is temporarily marked down to $30. So
it's a good deal. That game was technically not a 2012 release, but I still put it in my top 10 last year.
I think it was like my top.
What's that 2012 release? It is.
Yeah,
That's why I let it slide.
They added so much content that it more than justifies it, in my opinion.
So moving on from The Witcher 3, we are all very excited about that. You'll be hearing about that as news. I'm sure we'll revisit it next week once we've had a chance to kind of dig through all the details. So look for that on next week's podcast as well. Moving on, another game that we've been very supportive of since we saw it at E3 2011, which Prey 2. Everyone remember Prey 2? That game that we...
What is Prey 2?
Prey 2 fucking blew our minds at E3.
Didn't it
the
get
show
canceled?
2011?
Yeah, it was E3 2011. We saw it right after coming out of a Skyrim demonstration. And we were like, oh my god, Skyrim! And then we sat down and were like, Prey 2. And then fucking walked out of there talking about Prey 2 way more than Skyrim, which is crazy. Yep. And then after a while, it started to the details started to peter off. People hadn't really got a good look at it. They showed it once. They showed, I think, a good chunk of the demo they showed us at E3 to the public at PAX Prime that year. And then after that, it vanished. And then rumors started to circulate that the game was being canceled. They canceled a whole bunch of talks that were supposed to happen at GDC about the game. So there's a lot of rumors that they were canceling the project or even possibly even handing it off to a different studio other than Human Head Studios, which is the studio responsible for Prey 1. But Bethesda has always been very adamant that no, the game isn't canceled. But we haven't heard anything about it in months. And this week, someone at NeoGAF found a
countdown website.
A countdown website called aliennoir.com. You can visit that right now. It's aliennoir.com. You can find a link to it on the website at 4playernetwork.com as well. But basically what it is, it's a teaser site. There's no proof that this has anything to do with Prey 2, but it's based on the visual aesthetics of the website. It looks very Prey 2-ish.
Visual aesthetics, the coloring, the way they do it, it looks just like it.
And the biggest hint was that early when it first launched, people at NeoGAF managed to capture some screenshots of the source code where it mentioned Prey 2 and Human Head Studios in the code, but that has since been removed if it was actually real. But there is still a commented out piece of code in the source code that says Tommy needs your help, which is kind of a reference to the original Prey. So if this is legit, it's counting down to March 1st. So there's a chance we may see a reveal of the game. I'm really excited. I'm also very fucking nervous because they said they canceled the talks and they put it in this kind of like limbo state because they had to address quality concerns, which blows my mind in and of itself because the game looked mind blowing at E3.
But
that was a very
vertical.
It was a very vertical slice.
It wasn't even a vertical slice. It was a demonstration created for the sole purposes of showing it off at E3. I mean, it's kind of like that first footage of Metal Gear Rising we saw, when it was still Koji Pro developed. Just because it looks really cool in this little small part. You gotta remember that this is not a game. It's just a little demonstration.
That's true. The thing is, I'm hoping this project turns out more like maybe the Revengeance thing did, where it turned out where it went through some changes, but the overall product still kind of turned out awesome. I'm a little concerned that maybe it'll come out and they'll pull like a Fuse, where all of a sudden it looks poopy.
I don't think you'll see like a change in tone, really.
The thing is, it wasn't the tone. I mean, the tone was awesome. I mean, the thing is, it's called AlienNoir.com, which perfectly describes the tone. Like, it was Alien Noir, which is kind of what they were going for, and it looked they nailed that aspect of it. It's the mechanics and the things they were showing you being able to do in the gameplay, which blew our minds. And if that stuff is gone or stripped out or tweaked in any real significant way, it may not be as good as I'd hoped. I don't know. It's really hard to say. The thing is, we don't even know if this is going to pan out. This might just be some site someone threw up because they could to fuck with people's heads. Who knows?
So they specifically mentioned Tommy needs your help, but it doesn't mention the air marshal guy that you supposedly play as in Prey 2.
No. The thing is,
but you're supposed to be saving. Or
there's other.
Tommy in Prey 2. They've mentioned that before.
There is other evidence. I mean, if you go to the article that I wrote on the site, there's a link to the original NeoGAF thread where you can look through. There's a whole bunch of other pieces of evidence because I can't remember specifically, but it had something to do with the people who filed who purchased the URL, like the name of the company. If you look at on a map where they're located or something, it's right next to like an Indian reservation. Like all these weird, I don't know, it's weird. But if you go look at, it's
probably Prey.
Yeah, it's probably Prey. Unless, of course, the whole thing is fake.
That would be so mean. Who would do that? Who would do that?
The internet.
The internet would do that.
But I feel like there's no point to that.
Yeah, the thing is, Bethesda's not really commenting either. Like people who have reached out to Bethesda haven't heard anything back, so that's also a good sign. Otherwise, they would have been like, "Nope, that's not us." So I don't know. It's looking good.
It's looking good. It's probably a next gen title at this point.
Which the next gen is actually not that far away.
No, it's not a next gen title.
It could be.
Why couldn't it be?
Look at it. That game that we saw being played. I was like, this is gonna.
You guys got to understand that there's still going to be a couple of years where big titles are coming out on current gen consoles, even after
I get that.
the new consoles launch. You got to like there was a long look at the PS2. There was some of its biggest titles came out after fucking 360 hit, like God of War 2.
No, I'm not.
Stuff,
trust me, there will be years. There will be years to come of PS3 and 360 releases. I am sure.
Now this will be like a transition.
The thing is, I don't know. When I was watching it, looking back on it now and considering how close we are to next gen, and that would explain a lot of the reason why maybe they scrapped the project or delayed it or whatever. It's like maybe they saw potential that the next generation of consoles would benefit it more than just putting it on the PS3 360.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll hopefully find out on March 1st. I'm super fucking excited. By the way, I didn't write this down, but I just remembered February 20th, the PS3, the next big thing for PS3,
or whatever,
where they're supposedly probably going to
announce news. It'll be news when that fucking February 20th happens. Okay.
We might have an announcement of the next
announcement
PS3.
of an announcement.
Yeah, it's lame.
There's nothing. There's literally nothing to talk about yet.
That is true. But you know what? There is something to talk about. Project Awakened.
Yes, sir.
Kris, maybe you should take it away here then.
Okay, so back when Midway still actually existed, one of the teams in Chicago was working.
I'm sorry. I looked over and I just saw Brad just like...
Nick has this wonderful screensaver he is not sharing, and...
Stop looking at my screensaver.
This could be a subscriber incentive. I'm just saying we could use this.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
See Nick's private stream of Nick's screensaver. He'll create a new channel every time he's banned.
All right, wait. Back in 2008, when Midway was still around, a team in Chicago was working on a game called Hero. It wasn't officially announced yet, but it was basically another sandbox game, another sandbox superhero game, but it was built around the concept of creating a character and, you know...
It reminded me of, like, Infamous meets, what was the open...
Prototype?
No, what was the MMO where you kind of...
City of
Prototype.
Heroes.
Yeah, it was like City of Heroes meets Infamous.
It reminded me of Prototype meets Prototype, actually.
You're basing that on the screenshot and, like, that really...
No, the gameplay footage where the dude's flying and jumping around like Prototype.
That was alpha footage?
That was pre-alpha
It was
footage, yeah.
pretty borked looking, but that was just because it was really fucking early, and that was stuff that was all that was like showable after it was canned or whatever.
So Hero, when Midway had to file for bankruptcy, that got canned. But the team behind that game, they wanted to continue building that, so they rebuilt under a new studio called Phosphor Games, and they've always talked about wanting to build this concept. But in the meantime, they've been forced to make iOS and Android titles, which one was Into the Forest, I think, and one was Horn. And they were both really critically acclaimed. I mean, Horn got a DICE Award nomination, for example.
Yeah.
And so on Monday, yesterday, they announced that they're doing Project Awakened as a Kickstarter crowdfunded project.
Project Awakened being the new title or the new working title for Hero. Right?
Yeah, it was always known as Awakened, but it's now just Project Awakened or whatever. I don't know. But
Gotcha. So they're basically crowdfunding the production of this game, hopefully being able to push it into an actual
full-on
thing,
product.
a game that you can go out and play and buy and purchase.
Yeah.
Birth it into the world.
Basically,
Birth it into the world.
it's a sandbox, create a character experience. It's create your own superhero. I mean, you can recreate pretty much any superhero that has ever existed. I mean,
Or create your own.
Yeah, or create your own.
Can you create Ant-Man?
I don't know if shrinking and growing is a possibility, but I
Then
wouldn't put
no.
it past him given
The
the
Atom?
number of powers that they're demonstrating.
Nolan
in this.
told me this week, correct, if this is wrong, you can call bullshit. Nolan told me that Ant-Man's original power was that he could control ants. Is that true?
He had a helmet.
He's
that let
super
him
strong.
I think he
control
could
ants.
communicate
He,
with them.
he couldn't control the ants. His helmet could.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, right? He
There's
wore
supposed to
a
be an
helmet.
Ant-Man movie coming
Yeah,
out.
there is.
Yeah,
But it's like it's
that's
Edgar
when you're
Wright,
just.
I think.
Yeah, it
going
was.
way
I
too
think it
far
was
with
the.
your
I think it was
characters.
like from when they rebooted Ant-Man a few years ago. With like, it's not the Avengers Ant-Man.
But
It's like
Edgar
this new
Wright
guy who.
directed.
Yeah,
That's
because the new Ant-Man was like a comedy book.
Is anybody else
Like-
really fucking excited for Man of Steel? Because I am.
It's
It's pretty good.
Superman.
I'm more excited for Star Trek.
I'm more excited for Star Wars.
Whoa, which
Chris,
is also going to be.
You are
directed by
so
J.J.
far away from
Abrams
your
now.
mic.
All right.
What is up with that? J.J. Abrams is doing Star
You
Trek
are
and Star Wars now.
So far away from your mic.
So Awakened it is a game, but like I said, it's very focused on character creation, but it's also going to have a large mod tool set that's specifically designed to kind of be like Steamworks. So you can create like zombie variants, or
Nice.
one of the quick snippets of gameplay demonstrate kind of like a Tron-esque game, kind of look like that. It's supposed to, again, for $500,000, which is their goal. It's supposed to be very friendly, but there's a large focus. The base game is supposed to be single player only.
Okay.
Multiplayer is a stretch goal for this game.
Okay, so have you by chance checked the status of the Kickstarter since yesterday?
Well, I was actually backer number 21 for this project.
Number 21.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think last time I checked this afternoon about 4:00, it was at 57,000, and it only started yesterday, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
But a couple interesting things to note about this: it is not, despite the pitch video demonstrating a Unreal Engine 3 prototype, it is not UE3. It is actually a UE4 project.
Okay.
So-
Which we haven't really got a really good look yet at that engine yet. But that's kind of what Epic's focusing on.
And they list it as a PC game. They say with stretch goals, it's a possibility they'll come to next gen consoles. But if it does, it will not come to current consoles. It will be next gen. So
Yeah, that's good. That's going to become like a theme
Still
moving
a
forward
little
now.
ways off.
We're starting to talk about things being pushed to next gen, which is crazy.
But I mean, looking at some of the gameplay in this prototype, it looks fucking fantastic. They end the video with this guy walking up to this police barricade, and there's blood on the ground. There's a bunch of officers there, and he just raises his arms in the air. All of a sudden, spawns this gigantic tornado that sucks up all the police officers and cars, and there's explosions everywhere. It looks great.
I'm excited. That's the footage they showed.
And Infamous 2.
Well,
God damn it, Brad.
no, they showed it in the original.
He has a real talent.
No, that wasn't
for
it
just
was a
hijacking. I know.
Tornado
A bunch of this footage they showed in the prototype back in 2008, which leaked in 2011.
Yeah.
That's how people came to know about this.
What's the
But
goal?
they recreated
500,000.
Yeah, 500,000.
Wait, this is a new video that's recreated?
They recreated that scene.
Okay.
And I think a couple others too, so.
Okay. Well, there's a full article for it on the site at 4playernetwork.com. Kris wrote it. You can check out. There should be a link to the Kickstarter in the article as well. So if you're interested in donating to that project, I'd urge you to check it out. Kickstarting projects has become kind of a big thing in the industry now. It's legit. It helps studios out. So I'd recommend it. I haven't yet done that for a project yet, but I've been waiting for the right one.
I've backed 7 projects so far.
Okay, so I'm considering starting to back projects.
Somebody brings up a good point in chat.
You're a little far away from your mic, Brad.
The commander says $500,000 is nothing. How do they plan to make a game from that? Especially considering how much they're going to lose in taxes.
Well, they say they need the 500,000 crowdfunding to get started, but they've already been promised private funding beyond.
Okay,
that. So
if they
can
hit
hit
goals.
that goal, then somebody else will throw more money at it.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
and not
get-
to mention, this could also be to create a fully fleshed out like concept and prototype that they can then take to companies and say, "Hey, publish this game. Like this looks awesome." Yeah. Because based on what they had before and their history with Midway, it may not be super easy for them to go to a publisher and say, "Back this game."
Right.
But if they have
Unless
something,
they already have
if they have something
something,
funded by 500,000 plus and additional investors, they could easily build something that is impressive enough that people would be like, I want you to make that
The
game.
only issue with that is that they said they spent like all of 2010 and 2011 shopping this concept around to all different publishers, and they all said, no.
See, the problem is they probably they should have done that the crowdfunding first, possibly before. Then again,
that wouldn't have succeeded before Double Fine though. So
that is true. So hopefully, I wish them the best of luck. That sounds like a cool project.
2014 is going to be my year for like Kickstarter projects, man. Because that's all when mine just come on to
everything.
Fucking Star Citizen.
Stars. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one too.
Oh yes.
That's not coming out in 2014.
They said the beta will be available in 2014.
Okay, so a few other little things to mention here. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on the PS3 is getting exclusive DLC, VR missions.
30 of them.
30 VR missions. If you remember VR missions back from the
That's
original Metal Gear Solid, they actually released an entirely separate game called Metal Gear Solid VR missions.
I played the shit out of it and beat it.
And it was actually pretty cool.
It
Pretty cool
was.
concept. This is also kind of a nice throwback to something we haven't really seen on with. Have there been any VR missions for any of the
Metal Gear
since?
Solid 2 had 500 VR missions, and
Sorry, what?
yes, I did it, all of them.
Wait, where did those come? Why did
It came in the Substance edition.
piece of shit. That's why.
So that's why I own Metal Gear Solid 2 about 4 times now.
Gotcha.
So.
I didn't like VR missions are on the HD collection. I don't know if it's
Okay,
all.
that's
of
good.
them.
It's all of them.
It's all of them.
Good,
Yeah.
because I have that.
Did you play the ride and skateboarding?
Yes, I did. that wasn't bad.
It was bad.
It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad.
I'm scared. I just looked down at chat and someone said, I think I just found a picture of Nick's screensaver. What Nick's screensaver most likely looks like.
Is it Brad After Dark?
By the way, Brad, your Brad After Dark photo, for some reason, was our background on our computer for the longest time.
For an inappropriate amount of time.
Yes. and Nolan would always set it up so that like he would share the screen because our computer screen is right next to our TV. And so he would set it up for the dual monitors, and it would all of a sudden project that onto the big screen TV. And then we had a bunch of people over for Sunday night to watch The Walking Dead, and there's Brad After Dark, 60 on our fucking like 50-inch TV.
Wait, has The Walking Dead started?
Next week.
Next week.
Oh.
But, I don't mind the fact that the DLC missions are exclusive to the PS3.
I thought you were going to say the Super Bowl.
What?
when he said he invited people. Whatever.
I'm just. There better be a mission which you have to take on one of the Genolas.
The what?
Okay, in the
pronounced
final whatever or Gurlugon or whatever, in the final missions of both VR missions MGS 1 and 2, there were variety missions in which you had to take on like 200-foot soldiers. Okay?
Oh, I remember seeing those like screenshots of that shit.
You're already throwing Metal Gear Rays and Rising. You better be able to take on one of those fuckers.
Oh, it's if they're gonna do VR missions, they're gonna do some cool stuff.
Well, it was kind of weird. They said that the missions were going to be a mix of combat and stealth missions. So you're gonna be doing like a lot of stealth in Rising.
There is stealth in the game.
I don't think you can make a Metal Gear without some element of stealth.
I guess,
Yeah.
but like I don't know.
I just wish there was.
They also said there are going to be missions where you control the little what are they called? The dwarf geckos.
the dwarf geckos, yeah,
and with the 3 arms.
the 3-arm and the ball thing.
So you're just going to be playing as that for some of them.
Weird. I don't know. That game looks balls to the walls crazy, and I can't
Mark
wait for
II
it.
with the sword. That'd be cool.
I wish you could do a no-kill run on Rising.
What?
I think that'd be kind of cool.
You wouldn't be doing anything.
You
That
get a
would not
ton-
be cool.
You get a ton fight. You just beat the shit out of everything.
No. Oh man.
I'd like that.
Metal Gear Rising with no slicing.
I think that'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting for the first 2 hours.
Ninja Gaiden did it.
That's just. That's like doing a no.
I don't know how to respond to that.
I mean, wouldn't that
Didn't
be...
Ninja
wouldn't
Gaiden
that
suck?
be-
No.
Ninja Gaiden.
It wouldn't be
sucked.
much of a...
2 and 3, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be mostly like an aesthetic change, though? That wouldn't be much of an actual difference between using a sword and using like a truncheon to beat enemies. Except maybe you have to hit them a couple more times.
Way lame. That's like doing a no driving run in Grand Theft Auto or something.
Never get in a car.
Actually, that sounds awful.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Never theft a auto.
All right, moving on. IGN was acquired by Ziff Davis. Brad, go.
Oh, well, this is funny because what Ziff Davis still exists. Weren't they filing for bankruptcy a couple of years ago? The thing is, so if you're wondering why this is funny, it's because Ziff Davis sold off OneUp.com to UGO, which was, a lot of people ended up getting laid off in that sale. And then IGN, or their parent company or whatever, bought OneUp. So now OneUp is like a part of IGN, kind of, and now Ziff Davis bought IGN, so they got OneUp back. OneUp has been officially Jeff Greened.
This happens so often now in this industry. That happened to
Patrice got Jeff Green.
How many studios?
People just getting passed around.
Somebody should make a list of
Ending up
everyone in
people,
every
sorry.
company that's been Jeff Greened in the past 2 or 3 years. I bet it'd be a pretty impressive list.
Yeah.
It happens more often than you'd think. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking exactly. Ziff Davis, like we said, has had financial
Ziff
problems.
Davis
in the past.
didn't seem to like OneUp a few years ago, or several years ago. I wonder what that means for the fate of OneUp now.
I don't know. For people in chat wondering what we mean by Jeff Greened, Jeff Green, you know this story better than I do. He was
the editor-in-chief of Computer Gaming World, which later became Games for Windows magazines. They did a very famous podcast that is still probably one of the best podcasts ever, and
which is called was called
the Brody. Well, the GFW, but the Brodeo is sort of what they ended up calling it. We had Sean Elliott and other guys on it. It was great, but whatever. He left when he left OneUp. He went to go work for EA, and it was an interesting couple of years or whatever. He sort of didn't really seem to like it. I think he ended up working on like one of the Sims spin-off games for kids or whatever. But he eventually said fuck this place and left to go to PopCap, where he was like, oh man, it's way better here. I'm way happier here. It sucked at EA. And then EA bought PopCap. And then he was like, God damn it.
The harder you try to
Where
get
is he
away,
now? Is he
the
still
more
there?
they want.
So he's an employee of EA now, again.
Still.
So that's what we mean by Jeff Greened.
Yes.
So lesson for the day.
Don't try to run away from EA.
Don't try to run away from EA because they will get you back. Kind of like Ubisoft.
There's an interview that he did at a trade show with the former OneUp employee when he was working at EA on that Sims game, Sims Agent or whatever. Still one of the funniest fucking things because he was talking so much shit about the game. This is just a joke or whatever, but he was still talking so much shit about the game he was working on in the interview. Super funny. Maybe someone in chat can link that.
And someone in chat, this is, I don't know, someone just asked, didn't something similar to like that happen to a former THQ employee? No, it was actually a former Ubisoft employee that went to THQ, who was then purchased back during the whole THQ debacle. Ubisoft bought THQ Montreal, so they ended up getting Patrice I don't know how to say his last name. Desolé? Patrice Desolé, the creator of Assassin's Creed, left the studio, went to THQ Montreal, and then was purchased back by Ubisoft during the THQ auction this
Get
past
back
month.
to making Assassin's Creed games.
So it's like, all right, next Assassin's Creed game, hand it off to THQ Montreal. Oh man, that's kind of hilarious in all kinds of ways. Last little thing I'm going to mention here, DMC. Good game. I really enjoyed the shit out of it.
Very good game.
What does that have to do
Sales
with anything?
sales numbers. So Brad, maybe you would like to DMC loved it in the
Nick
news.
just wanted to mention that he likes DMC in case you never heard that.
All right, so DMC, controversial title, but it came out to some decent critical acclaim, actually.
I enjoyed it.
and
My
you know,
review's in the site.
It's a pretty solid game, but here's the thing. It was a reboot, and it was a reboot because Capcom, I guess, thought the Devil May Cry series was getting a little stale or, needed a sort of a kick in the butt. But usually when a company reboots a franchise, it's because sales of each iteration in that franchise keeps going kind of down and down and down, and it's supposed to reinvigorate it and like boost sales. Well, Capcom has since they initially had like really lofty sales expectations for DMC. I think as much as like 5 million, which is crazy.
That's crazy for
A lot of games.
They have dramatically reduced the forecast to like 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And supposedly they've shipped about 1 million units. That doesn't mean sold through.
It means they've shipped them out.
They've shipped them out. But what it sounds like is that it's currently selling about at what half of Devil May Cry 4 was selling at, which is a really bad sign because when a reboot, which reboots exist to reinvigorate the franchise, like dramatically underperform over even the last entry in the series, that's usually a nail in the coffin for that franchise, at least for even the even remotely foreseeable future for like the next maybe couple of generations. I mean, and knowing Capcom, they have not been afraid to shelve really like previously successful franchises. Look at Onimusha. Look at like Breath of Fire, which was like their only real JRPG series that they've had going since fucking Mega Man. They just couldn't strike gold with that, so they just sort of shelved it. And I would not be surprised if the same thing happened with this game.
Also just kind of in related news. I don't know how newsworthy this thing is. I can't remember.
They had a forecast
Of 2 million.
but that was a short-term forecast up through like the end of March, I think, for the fiscal year.
Dino Crisis is another victim of this.
Yes.
Another series I would love to see revisited in not such a stupid way.
Oh, fuck yes.
But this is in path. I can't remember where the interview was or what. So this is not technically official news, I guess. But in an interview with someone from Capcom or someone high up in Capcom, it was just mentioned briefly that they have no plans to revisit Onimusha.
Yeah.
So anyone who is hoping that there might be an Onimusha reboot on the way, doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, they said they weren't interested in doing Dino Crisis Onimusha, and they want to focus on developing new IPs, which that's not a bad thing. But
all it means is that there's definitely not one in the works. So don't expect going into E3 saying, "Oh, are we finally going to see Onimusha?" More concerning is what does this mean for Ninja Theory?
I don't think it's. They made a game that was critically acclaimed. They made a game that
their last 3 games have been dramatically underperformers.
The thing is, they keep
for each publisher. Like, who do they even next?
These I'm not sure who is giving them.
Sony, Namco,
I'm not sure who's
Capcom.
giving them advice as to what to expect sales-wise in these games. Because if you know the studio, if you know like their history, the kind of games they produce, the kind of sales they have attached to that studio, the kind of the marketing budget, how the marketing budget usually is translated into direct sales numbers, that kind of thing. Like, there's no reason why they should expect to sell like 5 million copies of a game like DMC. Like, I think the reason, like, they overshoot, they produce too many copies, they ship too many out. If they would have realistic expectations for sales numbers, these things wouldn't be happening.
But realistic expectations, like,
If you're not Call of Duty, you ain't gonna sell 5 million.
no, I mean AAA games. That gap is just widening even more, and I feel like Ninja Theory is stuck in this gap that the industry doesn't want. That this idea of this, I hate that term, but like AA game. They don't make these AAA games, it seems like, and no one's buying. People are either buying smaller downloadable things or big budget AAA things, and I feel like no country for Ninja Theory. It's the industry has left them behind, and I feel really bad for them.
They deserve a chance.
So that's the thing. They've gotten their fucking chances, Like Heavenly Sword was a big first party title for Sony. They threw them lots of money. Enslaved, sure, they didn't get the budget that their other two games did, but it showed. I feel like going forward, a big publisher gives them a chance with an IP that already exists, and maybe they get a proper budget, like with DMC, or their project ends up being something that's really small. Because I don't think anyone's going to give them a chance to create an original IP ever again that has a significant budget.
What's a good publisher that takes lots of risks like this, that acquires studios, that does this kind of thing? Look at
Bethesda. Maybe.
Yeah. What if I think that Ninja Theory would honestly be more suited to be working with a company like Bethesda.
But their track record is so, business speaking, like poor.
Wouldn't you kind of said that of like Human Head, too? I mean,
well, no, I mean not really. I guarantee you, the original fucking Prey probably sold better than Enslaved or whatever. But Human Head goes way back to like Rune, which was pretty well received at the time. But no one's really given Human Head chances either.
I want to just
Prey is
for right now.
IP that exists.
I want to wait and see if Capcom comments on this. Like I'm curious to see if they're going to officially address the sales of DMC, the future of that franchise, if there is one, that kind of thing. So hopefully they'll say something. But anyways, if you haven't picked up the game or played it, I encourage you to go do that. I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
The only thing, one more thing. The only thing that sucks about Ninja Theory is I feel like unless they are giving a budget to do the thing they're good at, they're not going to be able to do the thing they're good at.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah,
very true.
Which is the whole like acting, writing, the way they do the cutscenes.
Yes. Okay. So that's the news we're going to cover this week. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the 4-player minute wrap up. Before I do that, I want to mention that starting next week, we're going to return to doing viewer questions. We took kind of an unofficial hiatus from viewer questions for the past few weeks. We haven't really been following it too closely because we did that ridiculous podcast 300 where we answered, like, I don't even remember how many questions we answered.
About 40 or something.
So I'll make sure we get a forum thread up in the next day or two for next week's podcast. So if you want to leave us viewer questions for us to answer next week, feel free to drop in there and leave your question there. I'll be sure to include a link to that in the show notes for this week. Also, things to mention, Subscriber of the Month podcast. The first one was recorded a couple days ago featuring none other than the Subscriber of the Month himself, and Brad, and Nolan, and Joseph, centered around Phantom Dust, which was...
And Honey Boo Boo.
And Honey Boo Boo. So yes, that podcast has been recorded. I just got to edit it and post it up, so look for that on the main podcast feed in the next couple days. It's focused around Phantom Dust. So if you're a fan of Phantom Dust, or if you want to know more about the project, I'd encourage you to give it a listen. Our new Subscriber of the Month for February is Reborn Revolution. I'm not sure if she's in chat right now. She is. Hello, Reborn Revolution. Oh, look, she's right there.
Yep.
She is our new Subscriber of the Month. What's the game that she chose, Brad?
Crash Bandicoot Warped. That's the third one.
Crash Bandicoot.
If you want to play along, if anybody wants to play along, I'm part of the site. It is on PlayStation Network for like $5. So,
Which, interestingly enough, the website for Crash Bandicoot 3 still up.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird. So yeah, check that out. We'll be revisiting that throughout the month. As many of us as possible, try to get a chance to play it throughout the month. Maybe even broadcast it, and we'll record a podcast centered around that at the end of the month. So look for that in the coming weeks as well. What else? What else do I have here to mention? Subscribing. We did our second subscriber night of the year. Thanks you to everyone who tuned in, watched, subscribed, helped support us. We really appreciate it.
And subscriber the night's coming along pretty well too. I already feel like I'm best friends with Chai Tai 805 and Turn to Gold.
So feel free to watch us broadcast every night at 4pp.tv.
Oh, you're gonna have to pick one tonight.
Oh, yeah.
When you're playing Dead Space to get to know.
Yeah, I keep
It
forgetting.
could be you, so subscribe now.
So we'll be picking subscribers or chatters.
Chatter of the night.
Chatter of the night. Okay, so,
No, subscriber of the night because they have to be a subscriber.
okay, that's what I thought.
in the night.
I was like, that'd be way too many to choose from. So subscribers, we'll pick one. We'll chat with you while we're broadcasting every night. But if you're a subscriber, you do get the opportunity to possibly become subscriber of the month and pick a game for us to play and talk about and podcast about throughout the month. It's $4.99 a month. $4.99 a month. You can subscribe by going to 4pp.tv and clicking on the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot, especially given that ad revenue has gone down a whole lot, significant amount since Twitch started updating and becoming bigger in general. Since Twitch started becoming really popular, ad revenue for, I'm sure, most sites has gone down quite a bit.
And Twitch has also begun doing a new ad-free service called Turbo, which does ads nowhere on the site at all.
Yeah.
But that ad revenue, it counts as an ad click for us when you subscribe to Turbo, but we don't get anything else. So,
So just
subscribing.
Just be a regular subscriber. That's the most
just be a regular
important.
subscriber.
Yeah,
Ignore the channel.
because it doesn't really help us otherwise.
Yeah.
So most importantly, though, we really appreciate your support. It's what allows us to continue doing what we love doing and bringing you these podcasts and broadcasting on a continual basis. But we are going to continue to bring additional
Benefits.
Thank you for finishing the words that I can't think of right now. New benefits, we'll be brainstorming them for quite a while and bringing them
We've
up
got
as
a
we
couple
go.
pretty cool ones in the works right now.
Yeah, so and we're going to be giving out T-shirts to subscribers of the month as well. We just have to finish the design and finalize it.
Yeah.
So, and Mr. Oblivion, you were January. Once we finalize the T-shirt, you'll be getting one as well. So we haven't forgotten about you. Let's see, what else? New Release Tuesday happening directly following this podcast. Well, I have to drive home first, but I'll be broadcasting Dead Space 3 from about 11 till 2 tonight or so. So look for that on the feed. And last but not least, if you've watched this week on the feed, if you haven't, go watch it right now on our YouTube channel. But there's a link to a poll where you can vote for what Brad's going to play this week
On Your Way Bratter Day,
on Your Way Bradter
which
Day.
is going to be on Saturday at 11 p.m. Central Time. So go click the link to the poll because it's a special "Be Careful What You Wish For" edition, where you are going to choose you are going to choose the developer of a big upcoming release, and I will play something from their back catalog. You might want to do some research before you make your choice, though. So be careful what you wish for.
So yeah, I'll include a link to that in the show notes for this podcast as well.
And if I may add, we closed out the survey. We really appreciate all the feedback we got. We're going to be looking at that in the coming days.
I think what you mean is digging through that mountain of feedback.
Actually, no. We actually only had to press like 2 buttons to get like all the results just summed up for
Oh,
us.
but you still got to read through it all.
It just scrolls.
Reading
Only takes a minute.
hard.
Hey, but yeah, we really appreciate all the feedback. It's really going to help us out in making improvements to the site and to what we do in the next year or so. So thanks a lot to everyone who participated in that. Now it is time to wrap the show up with the 4-player minute. We're going to say something we are hyped about, our shameful secret, our sweaty palm, and our fuck you for the week. Brad is going to start us off as always.
Okay. Hey, what's the 4-player minute?
God damn it, Brad.
Explain that.
My shameful secret is gonna be the thing that's always gonna be my shameful secret, I feel like, and that's just how little time and attention I have to give towards my handhelds. Crimson Shroud, I bought I think I bought my 3DS the day Crimson Shroud came out. Still haven't finished that because guess what? I don't play handhelds. Also, Fire Emblem is finally out, and I have that too.
And now I want to play
I've had
that
it since
game.
yesterday, and I've played like 5 minutes of it because, I find such a hard time to play my 3DS. So
It's understandable.
it's so frustrating because I know there's so many quality games, and it's so shameful that I dedicate so little amount of time to playing those really good games, and most of the good games that come out of Japan these days end up on handhelds. So it's a little frustrating. My sweat is, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now to get it over with. Metal Gear Rising has a lot to live up to. It's Platinum Games, which is like probably my favorite developer right now in the biz, and it's one of
your favorite franchises.
It's Metal Gear. There's a lot to live up to there, and what I've played is promising, but it doesn't control like Bayonetta. It has a lot to prove. I think that game's success is really going to be in its wow factor, and I haven't seen some of the more recent trailers, but I hope it lives up to.
You've been on kind of an unofficial media blackout.
Yeah. I hope it lives up to my hype. My hype is, I feel like there's stuff in the air. I feel like there's stuff coming soon. That like unannounced titles that will trickle out, and it's not so much next gen hype that I'm excited about. I just want to know what studios like Avalanche are working on. Are we going to see another Just Cause game this generation? I want to know how crazy Just Cause 3 is going to be, Because Just Cause 2, believe it or not, probably one of the most surprising games of the generation, because Just Cause 1 was so meh, and kind of uneventful. But
Just Cause 2 was balls to the wall.
It was crazy. What is 3 going to be? It's kind of like that Saints Row 3 thing, where
it's going to be 30 times bigger than Just Cause 2.
Whoa.
That's
pretty big.
That's like a continent.
I just feel like there's something that I don't know about that's just going to knock me off my feet.
On your feet.
Yeah, off my feet. Like I have this feeling that Tomb Raider's going to come out very soon. Shortly after that, Crystal Dynamics is going to go, bam, Legacy of Kain rebooted.
Why would you do that in front of your mic?
I don't know. Give me that new Legacy of Kain reboot. I'm ready for it. Something's coming.
Something's coming.
And it's not just fucking tech. Some game I secretly care about that I'm not even anticipating is going to blindside me. I just know it. I know it. And my fuck you, of course, goes to Electronic Arts. Because, I finally picked up Dead Space 2. I'm enjoying it. I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, Dead Space 2. Hearing some stuff about Dead Space 3, reviews are a little average. But some of the things they're talking about sound cool. Sound like the stuff I want. But can't play it co-op. All these reviews say that the game is very much kind of designed to be played co-op as best played co-op. But no, EA's got to do an online fucking pass, because that's how they restore confidence in your brand, is to in your studios, to do online passes, announce online passes at the last fucking minute. It's irritating as hell, because that's really how I wanted to play Dead Space 3. But nope.
Gotcha.
Playing it by myself.
Crispy, is your turn.
Well, my hype is for my new PC, which should be here in about a week.
Oh shit, you ordered it?
Yeah. I already paid for it, ordered it. It's not in the mail yet, but it will be.
Can you describe it? The Z77, what is it? Asking what the motherboard type is.
It'll play Tribes.
Listen, I don't remember
processor?
Everything. Okay, bro. I'll get the specs for you.
I'm sorry, I build these things.
Is it at least a Pentium 2?
Oh God.
Yes. No, yeah. Definitely.
That's not from this century.
Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So pretty soon I'll be able to start playing all the old PC games, PC games that have come out in the last few years that I haven't had a chance to play. Mm-hmm. Really super excited to get into that. My shame. I don't think I've done this one yet, but my shame was for the fact that I've never ever completed Metal Gear Solid 2.
We mentioned that at the beginning of the show.
We did mention that, but that is my big shame.
That is shameful.
Well, we didn't know. We were talking about it before we started the show. I think.
So it's actually more shameful that you never got past the tanker level.
Yeah.
Which means you never really.
It's not that. Yeah. It's like
To be fair, that's the best part of the game.
My whole experience of Metal Gear Solid 2 has been the tanker level. In fact, for the first couple years, like I played that game like right around launch when it came out, like at a friend's house.
Yeah.
And then I didn't play it, didn't think about it. I wasn't really into Metal Gear yet at the time. I wasn't into the stealth games. And I remember somebody talking about playing as Raiden in the game. I'm like, what the fuck game are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, no, I was playing a Solid Snake, had the headband and the mullet and everything. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I have the Metal Gear HD collection at home. I've been going through Metal Gear Solid 2. I am getting there. I'm getting pretty close. I just did I just finished the Vamp boss fight, and I rescued Emma, and we're heading back to the core of Shell 1 to the computer room right now.
You're getting there.
So
Shit's about to get loco.
Yep, getting crazy.
You have no idea.
I know.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of hyped to finish that. My sweat is, I'm gonna say Crysis 3 because I really liked Crysis 2. I was into it. I mean, I don't know. Is it going to be more of the same? Like, is it like,
that was my concern going into it.
like because it's still New York? It's
supposed to bridge the gap, and you got like 7 different biomes throughout.
The thing that kind of like struck me was how the first game took place on an island. It was very like jungly atmosphere. Second game took place in New York City, and now the new one is New York City as a jungle. Like, I don't know. It kind of feels like
what if we just like mix the two,
like Tokyo Jungle.
It's like the urban.
What if
jungle,
Tokyo Jungle
but
was
it's
the
a real
inspiration for
jungle.
why they made this decision in Crysis 3?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if like I would, as much as I would like it to be a day one pickup for me, I just don't know that it's going to be.
It will be for me, so you're welcome to come watch me play it. Bruh.
Yeah, cool, maybe. And my fuck you for the week is going to be, I'm not quite sure who to direct it at, if it's GameStop or if it's Nintendo, but the Fire Emblem release was a little bit annoying. That was supposed to be out on the 4th on Monday, and to my knowledge, no GameStops, at least around here, have it at all. Like, so that was, I know a lot of people were trying to go and pick it up that day and weren't able to, and there was a lot of frustration flying around about that, and that's just, I don't get it. Like that's a first party Nintendo 3DS game.
Yeah, a franchise that's over 20 years old. Why would Nintendo bother
Nobody-
shipping enough copies?
Nobody pre-ordered it.
What about
They tried.
what about the exactly, and like
They cut off pre-orders.
GameStop cut off pre-orders like 2 weeks ago. 3
That must
weeks
be a
ago or
distribution
something.
issue then.
Might be.
I don't know. It's just, people are going to show up and want to buy that game when it comes out.
There's
Why not
fucking
have it?
commercials for the game. You don't put out commercials for a game and then not ship enough copies.
That is true. No,
That
you're right.
it just seems. I'm not even a huge Fire Emblem fan myself, but like from an observer's perspective, that seems very mishandled.
No, it's
And
definitely mishandled.
I think that's wrong.
It's wrong. All right. Thank you, Crispy. Chris Davis.
Okay, forgive me. It's been a while since I've done one of these.
Quite all right.
I guess my hype would have to be for Crysis 3. Mm-hmm. Really looking forward to that game. It's one of the few games that actually makes you feel like a fucking super soldier.
Yep.
And so
And it does. I kicked a car at a dude.
You can kick at cars at people. You can take people to the top of fucking rooftops and throw them off with no fucking care in the world.
Yes.
It's a great game. My sweat has to be Aliens Colonial Marines. It launches next week, and they're marketing it incredibly wrong.
Yes.
They've got a wub launch trailer.
Wait, I have a theory though. Like Aliens is all about these badass dude bros going in to fuck up these aliens, but then they get their asses kicked. That's what Aliens is all about.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, so maybe all like the promotion for this game is all about, we're all badasses, we're gonna go fuck shit up, like literally. That's what they're saying in that fucking trailer. But what if, in reality, it's like a super like
Oppressive.
a dark, super oppressive Dark Souls like experience where you're dying, people are dying around every corner, and you have no chance. And the game is unbeatable.
I'm sorry, but you do not wub the Aliens franchise in any way, shape, or form. They're marketing it wrong. They're
fucking
not showing
Gearbox.
nearly enough.
Here's
of
the thing.
single player.
I'm not sure how involved Gearbox directly has been with the creation of the trailers, because everything that they've shown, like when they do their behind closed doors demonstrations, they all seem very adamant about being super loyal to the atmosphere and the music and the tone and all that to the game itself. That stuff looked great. The marketing has been the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're outsourcing the creation of these trailers to somebody else, or at least giving it to someone who just doesn't give a shit and then stamping it. I don't know, because the trailers are complete opposite. The thing is, they're probably feeling they have to adjust the way that it shows publicly to get people to buy it, but the game itself doesn't seem to represent the same thing they're showing in the trailer. Does that make sense? You're looking at me really weird, Crispy, like it's not making sense.
I've only seen like one trailer for this, and I don't. It seems like how you would advertise an Aliens game.
Well, you might not have watched the right
You
trailer.
haven't seen the launch you haven't seen like the 5 trailers they've released in the past 6
When,
months.
I feel like they're wub-wubbing it. You mean they did like a full-on like dubstep, like what they did for Borderlands 2?
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Because
And there's this.
you're not talking about, because there's the one trailer I did see was like it had like those kind of like horror movie sound. It was like ba 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 ba, and then they're like flashing like
The first
images
couple
and stuff.
trailers were just
That
like
was
that.
like
That's
okay.
what I want.
So
in
that's
an
not what
Aliens
you're
game.
talking about.
No. The late trailers have been very ridiculous.
I feel like the people who are into the wub-wubs have probably the only Aliens movie they've seen was the Alien vs. Predator movies that came out in this decade.
I have been
fuck
known to
that.
occasionally enjoy some wub-wubs.
What?
But I have seen all the Aliens films. However,
You're not who I'm talking about. I'm talking
I
about
am
to
weird.
the younger audience who's into that type of music
I am
that they're
weird.
clearly trying to appeal to.
Yes, the trailer I watched last week was abysmal.
Yes.
So sorry. Let's move on because that's also my shame or my sweat. So
Okay.
let's move on past your sweat.
I believe it's a shameful secret, right?
Yes.
Okay. My shameful secret, it's kind of something I've been thinking about for the past few weeks and it's been really egging me on, but I've got a large back catalog of RPGs I've been really wanting to play, Last Story, Xenoblade Chronicles, hell, even fucking Skyward Sword, which I never really opened.
Okay.
Okay? I realized the other day that I'm never going to get to play these games.
Yeah. Probably not.
It annoys the fuck out of me.
Welcome to my life.
Mistwalker, I need this, and I can't.
However, I will
Mistwalker.
play the shit.
Mistwalker.
There's rumors that they're working on a Wii U.
Or like a Last Story 2, which is the exact opposite thing I want them to work on, which is Lost Odyssey 2.
Well, that's not going to happen.
That's never gonna happen.
Best
That's Microsoft
JRPG I've ever
published.
played.
I think it's Microsoft published.
Isn't Last Story
That's a unique
2
opinion.
a bit of a misnomer?
Fucking love Lost Odyssey.
I played the first
Isn't
disc.
Final Fantasy 2 a bit of a misnomer?
Okay, and you have a fuck you?
I guess my fuck you has to be to
USB cameras.
I kind of want that, but no. No, my fuck you has to go to the CEO, the president, the CSO, and everybody who worked on the board at THQ for fucking over your previously pretty damn good publisher, system and focusing on games like UDraw and stupid shit like that, and then forcing us to never get like Darksiders 3 or half the
That could
products
still
that I think
happen,
would be.
but it would be different.
No, Crytek came out today and they said that
Darksiders
they're not
never
interested in Darksiders at all.
But I thought Darksiders as a property was still going to be.
It'll
It'll be
be
auctioned off,
They're
but
not
it's
even doing the Wii U version of 2.
Yeah, it's not happening. It's gone.
Darksiders is
What I'm
dead,
saying
bro.
is somebody else could pick that up and run with it. Don't you fucking tell me it's done.
I'm sorry, son.
Okay.
It's gone.
God, what if it's picked up and it's turned into just like a God of War clone?
It's already a God of War clone.
No!
God
The fuck is wrong with you?
It's God of War
Take
meets
those
Zelda.
words out your fucking
It's
mouth.
God of War meets Zelda. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
God, I'm terrified. It keeps me up at night that they're gonna reboot Soul Reaver and it's gonna be a fucking God of War clone.
It will.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So fuck you, THQ.
Okay. My hype. Dead Space 3. Playing it right after the show. I was very skeptical of this game. My excitement kind of crept up on me. Played the demo. Actually, really enjoyed the demo quite a bit. Been looking at a lot of the art and stuff for it, and watching trailers and shit. And I'm excited. I remembered why I love Dead Space. I'm excited to play it.
Are you going to be playing single player first?
Single player.
Okay. Would you be interested at all in having a co-op partner later on?
Tonight?
Well, not tonight, but
Oh, yeah.
when you want to.
I want to try it. I want to try the co-op.
Okay.
Definitely. So yeah, you get to me on that, Chris Davis. We'll play together.
Cool
That
beans.
sounds fun. My shame is that talking to Brad before the show and looking at Fire Emblem on his 3DS has prompted me to really consider trading in my 3DS and getting one of the big ones and buying Fire Emblem.
That would be
for
the
it.
dumbest thing in the
No.
world.
Yeah, that's why it's my shame. That's why it's my shame.
I had your 3DS for what, half a year?
Yes, that's why it's my
Maybe
shame.
longer.
He did ask about it like every week, though.
Yeah, and
It's not like he forgot. He
No,
just didn't care.
he forgot that he never wanted it to play anything.
But that hasn't stopped me from really regretting the fact that I haven't spent enough time with it.
hey, well, maybe you should get a 3DS XL to get the new Castlevania Mirrors of Fate that comes out in March.
Did you see they really-
Which they're going to
Did you
port
see-
to the other
Did you
consoles
see
anyway.
that? They said they were like, we're considering doing a port of Mirrors of Fate. Like, well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That's not what people want. For years, people have been begging for 2D Castlevania to make a return to consoles. For years. And Mercury Steam has the balls to come out and like act like this is what we wanted. Fuck you. Fuck you, Mercury Steam. You're my fuck you of the week.
There we go. My sweat is Aliens. We already covered it, but that trailer last week was freaking abysmal because of the voiceover primarily, and the voice acting was terrible. Luckily, nothing that I saw when I saw demonstrations of the game seemed to indicate that person who's narrating that trailer will be anywhere near it. Hopefully, that's just created for the trailer. But now I'm officially worried about that game because if it comes across that cheesy and stupid, and I'll be really disappointed. And my fuck you goes to Capcom for overshooting, overprojecting the sales of DMC and a lot of their other properties as well, I'm sure.
Resident Evil 6.
Resident Evil 6.
That horseshit.
And, also, fuck Capcom for Resident Evil 6.
Fuck you,
Yeah.
Capcom.
Fuck you. But thank you for DMC. I did enjoy that.
And Dragon's Dogma was cool.
And Dragon's Dogma was pretty
Do more
sweet.
of those. But fuck you.
Has anybody ever done like a count of all the fuck yous we've had on this show?
It's been a lot.
Like a tally? I bet Capcom's like the number one up there, honestly.
I hope no one listens to this and takes it seriously. Just Capcom employees crying themselves to sleep. We try so hard. We try so hard.
I think they could give a fuck.
we kid, kind of. But
Kind of.
that's a wrap on the show. Kris Davis, thank you for being on the show this week.
Appreciate you having me.
Christopher Guthridge, thank you for being on the show this week. Looking forward to having you on next week's show if you survive the weekend. Brad,
If you
Yo.
have ears.
thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show.
If I'm not on the show next week, it's definitely because of Saturday.
I can't wait. So, with that said, check out the site. It's 4Player Network. I almost said podcast. 4playernetwork.com. You can find us on iTunes and subscribe. Really appreciate it. By subscribing, your iTunes will automatically update and download the latest podcast for you. You don't even have to do it. It's pretty awesome. You can find all of our Twitter accounts and all that bullshit on the site as well. So, but most importantly, you can watch us broadcast games every night over at 4pp.tv. And we really appreciate your support and your viewership. So, with that said, anyone else want to say anything before I close it out? Probably not. No one ever does.
Not really.
We'll see y'all next week on Tuesday for episode 305.
Love one.